The Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by these great sponsors. Are you looking to value your equipment more accurately, target the right buyers and close more deals, reach your ideal customer? Then look no further. Fusable isn't just about ag data, it's about action. Our best-in-class solution empowers you to value your equipment accurately, make informed decisions, and find the perfect prospects. Ignite your dealership's growth at fusable.com/movingiron-podcast. Out in the field, every decision counts. You wouldn't plant without testing your soil, so why would you prospect blind? Introducing EDA, your one-stop shop for ag equipment intel. EDA goes beyond specs and prices. You get deep dive data on every piece of equipment like UCC filings that help track ownership changes and uncover potential sales leads. D&B firmographics, which help you understand the financial health and buying power of potential customers. Market trends that help you stay ahead of the curve, and insights on equipment demands and pricings. With EDA, you're not just looking at data, you're seeing opportunity. Find the right buyer, sell smarter, and build lasting relationships. Visit edadata.com for your free demo and unlock the power of knowledge. For over 80 years, Iron Solutions has been your go-to data source for ag dealers, lenders, and manufacturers. Get powerful appraisal and value forecasting tools that fuel profitable decisions anytime, anywhere. Get your free demo at ironsolutions.com. Iron Solutions, confidence in every click. Today, there are many ways to finance ag equipment, but nobody delivers simple, fast, or flexible financing like AgDirect. Learn more about your options to buy, lease, and refinance equipment at agdirect.com. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 for all your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours.
When you partner with Axon, you immediately gain access to a full range of products and solutions designed to meet the complex needs of today's grower. We carry all major brands and sizes of tires and wheels. We specialize in large diameter wheels for large equipment. We have one of the largest OEM replacement wheel inventories in North America. Known for extreme flotation setups, duals, and triples, we have wheels for all makes and models of tractors, sprayers, combines, and grain carts. If we don't have the wheel in stock, we'll custom build, sandblast, and paint in-house. There isn't a more vast inventory in North America dedicated to helping dealers move more iron. With facilities on the West Coast and in the heart of the Midwest, leverage our 230,000 square feet of indoor inventory to solve any problem a grower may have. Move more iron with Axon.
At Big Iron Auctions, customer satisfaction is our #1 goal. As the 40-year leader in auctions for agriculture, real estate, livestock, construction, and transportation, we are here to serve you. Big Iron will handle everything from start to finish. From meeting with you, to prepping your equipment, writing the listings, and collecting buyer's payments, let us do the heavy lifting for you. We love our customers, and we treat them like family. There's a Big Iron sales rep in your area, so let's get together. To learn more, visit bigiron.com.
Moving iron in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving iron, time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving iron.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast. I've got a couple guests here that are going to talk about the scariness of the internet here and help kind of guide our way through that. But I've got Craig Cogle and Tammy Richards with DIS here to talk about what's going on with cybersecurity and business continuity planning. Let's go through that. And, you know, a guy like me that's barely smart enough to breathe and walk at the same time, I get the absolute importance behind this kind of stuff. So, guys, I'm glad you're on the podcast so we can talk about this.
Okay, thanks for having us.
Well, Craig, let's start with you first. Craig, talk a little bit about your background and what you do for DIS.
Yeah, hello. Craig Cogle. I've been in the IT industry for over 25 years. I've been with DIS just over 2 years, and I lead our cloud operations, infrastructure, and security at DIS.
Okay. And Tammy, what's your experience and how long have you been with DIS?
So I have been with DIS now for about 3 years, with Constellation Software for about 5 years. I have about 25 years worth of experience in the business, finance, and operations areas. And I'm currently the Director of Business Operations for DIS.
Okay. Well, welcome to the show, guys. I'm really excited to talk about this because when I first started doing internet sales and those kind of things in the dealership back in 2006, the idea of cybersecurity was, I don't know if there was an idea of cybersecurity in 2006, to be honest with you. It was like so far out of mind that it was such a thing. And then today, every morning I open my email up, I'm afraid to click on anything because I don't know what I'm going to do to set off some chain reaction that shuts down the world for the rest of eternity. So there's a lot of moving parts here and a lot of things to take into consideration. And one of the things that I think that I've seen over the last probably 2 to 3 years is there's a lot of information that comes in from your employers that have to do with, hey, we want you guys to take these classes and kind of walk through these classes, and they're short, 5, 10, 15-minute classes, nothing crazy. But it's the stuff that you think would be some common sense stuff into place. But if you take a look at what's happened with things like CDK, you've seen some issues with that. You've seen an issue with ATCO. Crown Equipment had a big thing come up. Run down the list every year, there seems like there's a big cybersecurity hack in there somewhere. So I guess, Craig, let's just set the table, I guess, a little bit with talk a little bit about cyber attacks globally. And it feels like everything else, and every time you turn around, there's some big hack out there someplace. So I guess talk a little bit about that and what you see happening there.
Yeah, absolutely, Casey. This is becoming, it's all industries now. So I think in the past, maybe certain financial, technical, government agencies were impacted. That's not the case in today's world. Yeah, the number of attacks globally continue to rise year over year. We're seeing about a 20% increase. Near 70% of companies are impacted by some sort of an incident, ransomware, or cyber attack. And, as you mentioned, this is now hitting the dealership industry at a more regular basis. You've mentioned CDK. That's very public. They had a cost of over $25 million in ransom that they had to pay out. If we look at some of the other attacks you mentioned Crown and AGCO, really the cost that is incurred with these companies are really great. And it's not just the companies themselves, it's also the customer base. The system availability could be down for several weeks in many cases. And so it's a real impact to productivity and cost, not only the company experiencing the problem, but obviously all of the customers downstream.
Yep. And I think that's especially on the ones we've talked about here, when you're talking about a company with a business system, all of those customers were kind of shut down. Like they couldn't get in the business system. They couldn't operate. They were doing old-fashioned hand tickets and everything else to try to figure out. And then what got lost in the shuffle and who didn't get charged or who got charged too much. And it's nightmare things that go in there. But, as you look at these kind of things, like I talked about earlier, every link that I click on my email, I'm like, man, something bad's about to happen here. I guess as you're looking at that, what are some of the, what are you coaching people to do, I guess, when you start looking at how do we go around? Because some of the stuff that you click on looks real. Like, it's got the actual person's email address and it might feel a little fishy, but you're looking at it like, man, it looks like it's on the up and up to me, I guess how are you coaching people to kind of help avoid some of this stuff?
Yeah. There's a number of bullet points that we'll get into. One of the things that I highly recommend is, and this starts from the leadership down in a company, is really looking at elevating your security culture. It starts from the top, and everything matters. And so making sure that the culture of the company is thinking security, cybersecurity, physical security is really important. So I can't state that enough. You mentioned training, and I think that is extremely important. Every employee on a regular basis should be trained in some fashion. There's free training out there. There is also paid training. Companies like KnowBe4 has great programs that are out there. And as you mentioned, what they train you on is when it comes to phishing attacks, email attacks that come in, they're trying to get employees and people to click on something that's malicious, and they are very creative on trying to fool you. They spend a lot of time and money in trying to replicate and mask sites and things like that. So the training really helps to identify the obvious signs and how to identify that.
Yep. I think the other side of it too is if you look at how this has evolved in time, I get, I screenshot these and send them to my kids and my wife and stuff. And I'm like, hey, if you get something like this, don't open it. Right. Because I'll send you some kind of vague thing that says, hey, you have a package that's stuck in shipping, some shipping depot someplace, click this link to figure out how to get it out of there. And I'm like, I probably do have a package someplace. As much stuff as I get from Amazon, but you made it very vague for me to do it. So it's the curiosity that kills the cat type thing. You go like, well, I see what it is. And next thing you know, they have the contents of your phone and every other password that you have out there. And next thing you know, you're kind of flailing a little bit. So Tammy, here you're the business continuity expert, I guess. And so this has happened now, right? So we've got this is kind of thing is shut down. What kind of steps are you recommending people put in place up to this point so that if something like this does happen, you don't have to pay the $25 million ransom?
Right. Well, I think that it's important to note that it's not just cybersecurity that kind of risks your business continuity. You've also got natural disasters. You have human error. You have aged infrastructure. You have running your business on a non-updated platform. So there's lots of things that can happen to disrupt your business. And I think the important thing is to really be sure that you've got a solid plan in place to be able to navigate through that disruption and post that disruption so that you're not impacting, to Craig's point, your customers downstream or your ability to transact business in your company. Some of the biggest things that a business continuity plan should encompass are really having conducted a strong risk assessment in your business and what's at risk if your systems go down. Really also identifying what are those critical functions that you should be able to continue through in order to allow your business to continue to operate. I wouldn't say seamlessly because we're talking about going back to an analog solution here, but at least to allow you to continue to operate your business. Then you also want to have your continuity and your recovery strategies in place, right? So how do you operate through the disruption? And then what does your recovery look like post-disruption? Once your systems come back up, what do you do to sort of get your business back online, make sure that all of the analog information that was captured is kind of entered back into your system to get you back up and running? And then I think the key pieces are really just having this plan firmly developed, have the leadership team discuss it, have everybody buy into it, and then continuously reviewing and maintaining that plan. It's not something that you want to put in place and stick it in a closet somewhere and never go back to it, because as your systems change, as threats change, as opportunities change, you really want to be constantly evaluating what you have in place from a business continuity perspective.
Right on. Okay. So one of the things I think, back to your point from the recovery perspective, you hear about, redundancies here and there. You're running, two different servers, and one server gets updated at the end of the day, and so on and so forth. And that's like your worst case scenario. If something happens, whatever's on server B over here, you might have lost 24 hours worth of information, but hey, you still got, everything else up to that point. How do you recommend those kind of things where, hey, we're gonna have some kind of an offsite thing, or do you still run the risk of, hey, I'm updating this every day, and now we've got some malicious malware that popped in, and now this other server has now been hacked as well? I mean, how do you go about making those hard breaks in redundancy there, I guess?
Yeah, it's a great question. Really, when we think about data protection, there's many avenues when you think about that. So first and foremost, making sure you've got good redundancy with your data. So whether that's an enterprise storage solution that has built-in technologies like snapshots, backups. The other thing is key is that backups that you have to run. So data protection is key. You want to do regular backups daily of your data, and you want to move that data to an offsite location. By leveraging the term hybrid cloud solution. You can utilize multiple locations and store your data regionally if possible. And that's a very important thing to be able to do if a single location, a single system has an impact. That way you can transition over to secondary systems or have that data in a different location. So very important.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think that's really interesting because that's something that a lot of people may not realize is if you're running your business on the West Coast and you're storing your business in a West Coast data center and there's an earthquake or a tsunami or something that happens, then you're down. So really, to Craig's point, it's key to understand where you're storing that data and where you can grab that data and make sure it's in an area of the country that won't be impacted by the same sorts of situations you might be experiencing locally.
Yep. So you had something on your list here that I was reading through, like, that makes a lot of sense, but how often are people going to do this? And it's, updated parts inventory lists, copies of aged receivable reports, inventory flooring reports, so on and so forth. Would you recommend, say, hey, we're gonna print off our inventory report at the end of every month just in case something does happen? At least we've got a snapshot in time at the end of every month where we can at least go back and if we have to, we can start a count from at least here and look at some stuff going on. Talk a little bit about that analog approach, I guess, to really dial that in.
Absolutely. I think it's a really critical part of any business continuity plan in that you do have these sort of manually printed documents to go back to and reference in the event that you're not able to access your system. So if you've got a power failure or cyber attack and you're locked out or whatever, you need to have a point in time that you can go back to reference. So you don't want it to be too long of gaps in time that you're printing these, particularly from like an aged receivables report or an on-hand inventory report, those types of things. I would recommend once monthly at a minimum, probably better to do it every couple of weeks so that you have a fairly updated copy on hand. That way, at least your front end staff can continue to transact business. You're able to get with your customers and keep their business going as well. I think it's also important to have manual point of sale tickets and have manual work order sheets and have manual time tracking and employee identification lists so that you can get a hold of your employees and your staff. It's all of those parts of the business that it's hard to sort of see it in its totality, but pretty much everything that you do from a business perspective is inside of your systems. So if you can't access those systems, I think it's critical that you have those pieces printed out in order to continue to transact business as normally as possible.
Yeah. So from a cultural standpoint, Craig, you've talked about, getting people's buy-in and those kind of things. I'm a big dumb animal here, so I'm going into how long as I can start my computer and it works fine. I think everything's fine, right? Everybody else on the backside's got it all figured out and whatever. Whatever they're asking me to do, I'm going to do. But I guess walk through how do I go about starting a plan that puts the cybersecurity stuff into some kind of an actionable plan. How do I go about building that plan, and how do I start there? Where do I start at?
Yeah, I think it's important. Tammy mentioned the business continuity plan. Inside that, there needs to be an incident security response plan, and part of that is who are the main contacts? Who is going to be really in charge of security in the organization? It doesn't necessarily have to be somebody with an infrastructure technology IT background, but you need to think about what does that plan look like? How do I contact folks in an emergency? What are the steps that we need to take? And so there's a lot of templates and examples. There's agencies out there led by the government, the CISA organization. There's also NIST. So there's a lot of templates, guidelines out there that companies can take advantage of that are free. They lay out frameworks and things like that. So I highly suggest looking into those areas. Also, partnering with an IT professional organization that can help and consult. I think that is something that we recommend all companies do to just make sure that you have a program in place.
So, going back to the continuity here a little bit, do you have you read any studies, Tammy, or anything like that show how many companies actually have a continuity plan in place if something does happen?
So I haven't read the stats on exactly how many companies have that in place. I think that's kind of a hard stat to gather. It's probably much smaller than it should be comfortably.
Yeah.
I think that it's one of those key things, kind of like you said, a lot of companies just think if I go in and I turn my computers and it's working, everything's good. So
Right.
it's planning for that disaster impact that it's something we need to get into the lexicon of people in today's environment, and with all of the different threats that we are facing today.
Yep.
I think just to even piggyback on what Craig said a little bit, everything needs to have an owner. So inside a business continuity plan, you've got to have those defined roles and responsibilities for everybody and what they own, what they're providing forward, how they're training their staff, and then what is the communication tree? What is that strategy to make sure that you're communicating during these disasters to ensure that everybody is effecting their role responsibly? And I think it's something that we need to continue to focus on in our industry and outside of our industry to push these business continuity strategies, because I do believe probably more companies than not are at risk of not having one in place.
Yep. I think you're right, because my little company that I have, I've got some things in place, but I'm pretty sure they're not going to help me if things go sideways. So I have to constantly go back and look at that. From a security standpoint, though, Craig, I mean, there's a million different malware services out there, and you run down the list and throw a dart, and you're gonna hit one. How do you recommend evaluating what cybersecurity software should I be running on my computer or in my system? How would you go about evaluating that?
Yeah. And I think it's more than just that too. We can talk about some of the best practices that I recommend companies do. But, when you look at the antivirus malware industry, like you said, there's a lot of players in that marketplace. I would highly recommend utilizing something that's got good reputation. It's got a full feature set. It really meets the needs of the business. It could be from Microsoft, companies like CrowdStrike. There's a lot of different packages out there. The main thing is to choose one that's reputable and stick with that. Make sure that every machine that you have has got some sort of antivirus malware protection in place, that you're getting the subscription and getting the updates on a regular basis. Too often I see companies buy the package, but they don't pay for the support afterward, and they're not getting definition updates and things like that.
Yep. So it's even gone as far as wasn't there a cybersecurity company of some sort that had a big hack not too long ago? That kind of fell into that?
Yeah. I've often said that it's not if, it's when. Every company's going through this, whether you're the world's largest security company in the world, or you're a small, dealership in the nation. It's happening to all companies, and the attacks are very sophisticated. So it can happen to anybody, and it has happened to quite a few companies.
Yeah. So this is one of the most annoying things that's come out over the last 2 or 3 years, but it's just like anything else. It's like running is also annoying, but you should probably do it every once in a while to stay in shape. The MFA, what's that? Multiple. What it happens to stand for?
Yeah, multi-factor authentication.
Yeah, there you go. Multi-factor authentication. I hate that with every ounce of my being, and I gotta hate it. But it's one of those things that, you kind of. I actually had someone call my phone one day and told me they were from Wells Fargo. And somehow they'd gotten into my account, and they were asking me for, I need you to go to this multifunction thing and give me the numbers that come out. I'm like, what? And I was like, that's weird. Why would the banker ask me that? So I'm going through the thing, and finally about halfway through there, I'm like, no banker's ever asked me this before. Why do you need for me to go through the multifunction thing and give you these numbers when you're the one that called me that has all the access to my accounts?
Yeah.
And so finally he was like, you're somebody in Florida's hacked into your account, and we got to get it figured out. I was like, I'll just call the bank and make sure this is correct. And do that.
That is really critical, what you just said. If it doesn't seem right, if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. Don't do it. Go to the company's source site, make sure it is their site. If somebody's calling you, texting you, emailing you, be very suspicious of that. Look at the spelling of the email address. Look at the website links that they're going to click, that they want you to click on. Don't do it if it doesn't feel right. Delete that, and contact the bank, contact the organization directly, and just validate it. I can't say that enough. Be very diligent in that.
Yep. And I think one last thing on this topic is, and I'm really bad about this. I'm sure everybody else is too. I go set up a password in my computer and then I save it. And then so that way when I go back to it and I start typing in, I don't even have to type in stuff. It just pops up and I just click it and make sure it's okay. Talk about how often should you be changing your passwords? And B, if you're lazy like me, where should I be storing these at so that nobody else can find them?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, when you think about some of the common methods for a cybersecurity attack is harvesting of passwords. What happens is companies are getting compromised and hacked on a regular basis. And what they're doing is they're stealing usernames and passwords. So if you're using the same username that you use maybe for a social media or a website to your bank, now they've got a good piece of the information to compromise you. And so one of the things that I highly, highly recommend is investing in a password management system. There's plenty of companies out there, 1Password, Keeper. There's several out there that do a really good job of securing it. And I recommend an organization invest in a password management system for their employees and to store commonly used passwords. And that's a great way to do that. Utilize unique passwords for your different websites, financial organizations, social media. Make sure they're all different so that if one gets compromised, they can't utilize that somewhere else. So that's really important. If you use a password safe, it'll be easy to retrieve those passwords. You don't have to remember all of these passwords. You just can't do that. So utilizing a good password system is important.
Right on. Okay. Well, Tammy, any last thoughts you want to throw out on the continuity side that you want to make sure people understand as we move into this kind of brave new world, I guess, for lack of, it's getting easier. So, I mean, I guess having a backup to the backup probably is not a bad idea.
Absolutely. I think I would just continue to stress how important it is to think through the process and for this to be in the forefront of people's minds as they're going through their daily routines or as they're having management meetings, or they really need to be thinking about what happens if, what does this look like? What happens if we can't access our systems? What happens if we can't get on? What if we can't go into our facility? What if we have no electricity? They need to be thinking through those potentialities because it really just needs to be part of typical business planning so that you're able to ensure that you're able to move forward with as minimal interruption as possible. It's going to be daunting and there's going to be interruption no matter what, but the more that you can do to sort of make that an easier transaction or an easier way to navigate through that, the better off you're going to be. And then you're not kind of stuck in that fear mode when it happens. You at least have a plan that you know who's supposed to participate, what the communication tree is, and what tools you have available to make your business continue to run. So I just think it's key to make that part of the planning of any business.
Yeah. And they have do you have a template on your site that I'll put in the link to help kind of go through this practice and help start this conversation and build what this might look like coming down the road, right?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. And thanks for posting that. Hopefully it's helpful for people.
Right on. So check out, I'll have that link in the show notes to go from there. Craig, any final thoughts you want to put out there on this topic?
Yeah, no, I think the key thing is nobody is just secure and you're done and it just happens. It is a ongoing, continuous mindset and a program that all companies and all individuals have to have. The landscape is constantly changing. The adversary is realizing that this is a very lucrative business, and it is a business. And so they're constantly adapting and changing their techniques. And we have to be on our toes, not on our heels. And so the key thing is having that security culture, investing a portion, determine how much you're going to invest in cybersecurity, and try to make sure that investment is in place and it's utilized. So whether it's buying password management software, if it's buying anti-malware, if it's investing in consulting with an organization, I think companies need to realize that they have to invest in this area, or they're going to be in the headlines. And so that's really, I think, the main bullet points there.
Yeah. definitely not something you want to be in the headlines for. So definitely not going to be there. Well, guys, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. This is good stuff. And like I said, this is such a hot topic right now, and I think it's going to just continue to be. If Craig and Tammy, if people want to reach out and get more information from you or help them go down the path, what's the easiest way to do that?
Yeah, for me, my email address, maybe we can put that in the comments, Casey.
Sure.
But feel free just to email me directly. I love the subject. I'm passionate about it.
He does.
Yeah.
Right on. Love it. Tammy, how folks get a hold of you? Same way?
Email would be
Okay.
best, absolutely. So yeah, please
Awesome.
feel free to publish that.
Okay, I'll put I'll put the links for the template in the show notes as well as their email addresses, and we'll go from there. So, guys, I appreciate you being on the podcast, and we'll catch you again next time.
All right.
Hey, thank you very much.
Our podcast is brought to you by these great sponsors. Are you looking to value your equipment more accurately, target the right buyers, and close more deals? Reach your ideal customer? Then look no further. Fusable isn't just about ag data, it's about action. Our best-in-class solution empowers you to value your equipment accurately, make informed decisions, and find the perfect prospects. Ignite your dealership's growth at fusable.com/movingiron-podcast. Out in the field, every decision counts. You wouldn't plant without testing your soil, so why would you prospect blind? Introducing EDA, your one-stop shop for ag equipment intel. EDA goes beyond specs and prices. You get deep dive data on every piece of equipment like UCC filings that help track ownership changes and uncover potential sales leads. D&B firmographics, which help you understand the financial health and buying power of potential customers. Market trends that help you stay ahead of the curve, and insights on equipment demands and pricings. With EDA, you're not just looking at data, you're seeing opportunity. Find the right buyer, sell smarter, and build lasting relationships. Visit edadata.com for your free demo and unlock the power of knowledge. For over 80 years, Iron Solutions has been your go-to data source for ag dealers, lenders, and manufacturers. Get powerful appraisal and value forecasting tools that fuel profitable decisions anytime, anywhere. Get your free demo at ironsolutions.com. Iron Solutions, confidence in every click. Today, there are many ways to finance ag equipment, but nobody delivers simple, fast, or flexible financing like AgDirect. Learn more about your options to buy, lease, and refinance equipment at agdirect.com. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 for all your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours. This podcast is proudly provided by Axon, helping dealers move more iron for the past 100 years. Find out more at axontire.com. Move more iron with Axon.
Moving iron in the 21st century.